Charlie Chaplin sits beside the narrow iron bed in the Lambeth Infirmary, holding his mother Hannah's frail hand as her breathing grows shallow and irregular. Dr. William Hartley checks her pulse one final time, then turns to the 34-year-old man whose face is known around the world, but whose heart is breaking like any son's. "Mr. Chaplin, I'm sorry. She's gone." What Charlie whispers in the next 3 minutes isn't just a goodbye to his mother. It's a promise that will drive every performance, every film, every moment of artistic creation for the rest of his life. A vow to give voice to the voiceless and dignity to those the world has forgotten. Lambeth Infirmary, London, August 15th, 1928, Wednesday evening, 8:47. Outside the grimy windows of the charity ward, London's East End continues its relentless struggle against poverty, disease, and despair. Inside this sparse room with peeling paint and the smell of carbolic acid, one of the world's most famous entertainers faces the most private moment of loss. Hannah Chaplin is 63 years old, though she looks far older. Decades of mental illness, poverty, and institutional care have worn her body down to fragile bones covered by pale skin. The vibrant music hall performer who once captivated audiences with her soprano voice exists now only in Charlie's memories and her son's determination to honor what she represented. Charlie arrived from Hollywood 3 days ago when the telegram reached him. Mother's condition deteriorating. Come immediately. He dropped everything: studio meetings, film schedules, the carefully orchestrated machinery of international stardom, to be here for this moment he's dreaded since childhood. Dr. Hartley has been treating Hannah for the past 6 months since her latest breakdown. A kind man in his 50s who's worked in London's charity hospitals for 23 years, he's seen too much suffering to be sentimental, but Charlie's devotion to his mother has impressed him. "Mr. Chaplin," Dr. Hartley says gently. "She went peacefully, no pain at the end." Charlie nods, unable to speak. His free hand holds a small notebook, the one he's carried for years, filled with story ideas, character observations, and fragments of scenes inspired by his mother's tales of music hall life and her struggles with poverty. For 3 days, Charlie has sat beside this bed, talking to Hannah during her lucid moments, holding her hand during the confused periods when she didn't recognize him. He's told her about his success, his films, his life in America, all the things she sacrificed everything to make possible. Hannah's journey began in the workhouses of South London, where she gave birth to Charlie in circumstances so desperate she couldn't afford proper medical care. She worked the music halls, singing for pennies, trying to support 2 boys while battling mental illness that Victorian society neither understood nor treated with compassion. Charlie remembers the night when Hannah's voice failed during a performance at the Canterbury Music Hall. He was 5 years old, watching from the wings as his mother struggled to continue singing while the audience grew restless. When her voice cracked completely, Charlie walked onto the stage and began singing Jack Jones in his clear child's voice. The audience applauded, and Charlie earned his first money in entertainment, coins thrown onto the stage by people moved by a child trying to help his struggling mother. That night, Hannah told him something he's never forgotten. "Charlie, when people laugh or cry because of something you do, you're giving them permission to feel human. That's the greatest gift anyone can give." Now, holding her still hand, Charlie whispers the promise that will define the rest of his life. "Mother, I promise I will never forget where we came from. Every character I create, every story I tell, will remember the people who struggle like we struggled. I will give dignity to the poor, the lost, the forgotten. I will make the world see that every person, no matter how humble, how broken, how discarded, deserves to be treated as human." Dr. Hartley stands quietly nearby, recognizing that he's witnessing something profound and private. Charlie continues, "I promise that success will never make me forget what it feels like to be powerless.
Every time I perform, I will carry your voice with me, the voice that failed that night at Canterbury, but taught me that vulnerability can be a source of strength, not shame. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a worn music hall program from 1896, Hannah's name listed among the performers. Charlie has carried it for 15 years as a reminder of his roots. I promise that the little tramp will always represent you, Mother. Not your illness, but your dignity. Not your failures, but your courage. Every time he gets knocked down and stands up again, that will be you refusing to surrender to circumstances that tried to destroy your spirit.
I promise that no matter how famous I become, no matter how much money I make, I will never look down on people who are where we used to be. I will never forget that the difference between Charlie Chaplin, the star, and Charlie Chaplin, the workhouse boy, is luck, timing, and the sacrifices you made. Dr. Hartley approaches gently. Mr. Chaplin, we need to make arrangements. Charlie nods, then speaks one final promise to Hannah. Mother, I promise that when people remember me, they will remember that I never forgot to be grateful, that I used whatever talent I have in service of the truth you taught me, that everyone deserves dignity, everyone deserves compassion, and everyone's story matters. Charlie kisses his mother's forehead, places the music hall program on her bedside table, and stands up to face the practical realities of death certificates, funeral arrangements, and the machinery of grief. But the promise he made in those 3 minutes beside her bed becomes the driving force behind every major decision in his career. 6 months later, Charlie begins production on City Lights, a film about a tramp who sacrifices everything to help a blind flower girl. The little tramp's gentleness, his refusal to exploit others despite his own poverty, his dignity in the face of rejection, all of these qualities are direct tributes to Hannah's teaching that survival doesn't require abandoning compassion. In Modern Times, 1936, Charlie creates perhaps his most direct homage to his mother's struggles. The film's critique of industrial dehumanization, its sympathy for workers crushed by economic forces beyond their control, its insistence that love and human connection matter more than material success, all of these themes spring from Hannah's experience as someone the system failed but who never lost her essential humanity. When Charlie faces his own persecution during the 1940s communist accusations, he remembers Hannah's experience with mental illness, how society labeled her, institutionalized her, discarded her, and he refuses to apologize for his political beliefs or abandon his sympathy for the powerless. During his 20-year exile from America, Charlie continues making films that honor his promise to Hannah. The Great Dictator ridicules fascism's treatment of the vulnerable. Monsieur Verdoux explores how economic desperation can drive people to extremes. Limelight tells the story of an aging performer whose best days are behind him, but who finds meaning in helping a young dancer achieve her dreams. In 1972, when Charlie returns to America to receive his honorary Academy Award, he's too emotional to speak at length, but he manages to say, "Thank you for this honor. I hope I've been worthy of your kindness." The audience gives him a 12-minute standing ovation, the longest in Oscar history. What they don't know is that in that moment, Charlie is thinking of Hannah, remembering the promise he made 44 years earlier in a charity ward bed, feeling that he's finally fulfilled his vow to use his success in service of human dignity. Charlie dies in 1977, having never broken the promise he made to his mother. His obituaries focus on his artistic innovations, his global fame, his cultural impact, but those who knew him best understand that every choice he made, every film he created, every stand he took was guided by 3 minutes of whispered promises to a woman who died in poverty but lived with dignity. Years later, film scholars studying Charlie's archives find the notebook he carried that night at Lambeth Infirmary. On the page dated August 15, 1928, in Charlie's handwriting, "Mother died tonight. Promised her I would remember. Will spend rest of life keeping that promise. The little tramp will always be her son." The promise Charlie made to Hannah wasn't just about honoring her mother's memory. It was about understanding that true success means using whatever platform you have to defend those who can't defend themselves, to speak for those who have no voice, to insist that everyone, regardless of their circumstances, deserves to be seen as fully human. Hannah Chaplin died in a charity ward, largely forgotten by the world that once applauded her voice. But through her son's promise and the characters he created in her honor, her values of dignity, compassion, and resilience touched the lives of millions of people who never knew her name, but recognized her spirit in every gentle gesture of the little tramp. That's the power of a promise kept. It doesn't just honor the person it was made to, it becomes a gift to everyone who experiences its fulfillment.